Hello all, welcome to Akuna Consulting webinar series on digital transformation. Today our topic is DevOps coaching. What is today and what is going to be tomorrow in the new normal. I'm your host, Christine Aykaç. I am part of the Akuna Consulting Learning and Development team, and my core competency is actually project management and also whatever it's related to projects. I do project coaching and design the learning program for the organizations. Before we move on to the agenda and our presenters, let me remind you upcoming webinars. On Thursday, June 3rd at 2 p.m., Amelia and Claudio is going to talk about right to know. Is the privacy thinking. It's quite interesting, and again there will be some freebies. I recommend you to join. And then of course following week, Thursday, June 10 at 12 noon, all our times on EST, how to use structured collaboration to create value with ITIL 4. You know that new version of the ITIL 4 is released and a bunch of related programs and the trainings with it. But the new ITIL is concentrate on the value a lot compared to the previous version. That's why our master instructor, Marcel and Jorge is going to talk about on that. And then following is last but not least, June 15, Tuesday at 12 noon, we are going to have Thomas with us to talk about understanding the digital transformation, benefit, challenges, and risks. You may know Thomas. He created wrote bunch of books on digital transformation and trainings related to those transformation activities. And again, there will be a bunch of freebies on that event. Especially we are going to share Thomas's latest book with the participants. I recommend you to join. And you can register, it's here, the address, it's very easy to remember. Thank you. Okay, today we are going to talk about DevOps. What is DevOps and how adoptions are going? Mike will explain us. Mike also will talk about why the organizations need a DevOps coach. And if you are interested, why you should become one. And then John will take over to talk about what is inside the DevOps Coach Toolbox, virtual coaching in the COVID world, and also what the DevOps coach is providing. It is kind of missing ingredient. Of course, at the end, Mike and John will going to answer your questions. And you may ask, why John and Mike? Actually, because I work with them in the past and we participate in the same coach program, and also we are delivering coach program together at the current moment. And that's why the one is coming up. We will give you more information about our upcoming DevOps coach program. But in this section, we are going to talk about what is DevOps and what is it not. It's interesting. Let's dive in. Before I hand over to John and Mike, and actually the first Mike is going to talk about it, let me tell you that DevOps is a mindset. You see, it is not just the tools, techniques, and processes. It is accepting the mindset. It's quite initiative, but let's talk about some examples.
Relate to you and your experience inside your organization, because we've been here as well. And the common thread for these stalled or broken transformations can be really summed up in one word, and that word is culture. If you over and over again, and more studies come out by the day, it seems, that you say, all right, why is DevOps or Agile adoptions failing? And McKinsey, Forbes, you name it, the overwhelming majority say, hey, it's the people. It is not a technology problem. It's a people problem. Because at the end of the day, we're dealing with change. Transformation inherently it means change, and systems don't care if they change. Processes don't care if they change. People, on the other hand, very much do. We're the ones impacted by the change and resist it, move at different speeds around it. It reacts to it in very different ways. And so for that reason, we have developed this, idea and this notion and really come to the recognition that there's a key ingredient, there's a coach that needs to be part of this transformation and part of this change. So the other question we'll often ask is, all right, when is DevOps failing? And you can think about those last couple of images, the graphic representations of DevOps failure, and see, quite often it's at scale. We've developed and kind of piloted DevOps or Agile internally. We've got a couple of teams running, getting into a good cadence. They're working sprints, they're doing retrospectives, they're starting to do, get into a rhythm of CI/CD. And then we start to deploy and spread this philosophy across the organization. We try to ramp up speed. And that's the equivalent of okay, let's hook a bunch of more cars, to the train and try to keep going the same speed we were before. Or, let's just take our sports car and drive headlong into the rest of the organization at speed when they're not ready to go as fast as we are. And so it's this at scale time when the majority of DevOps initiatives start to fail. They lose momentum. And so how do we avoid those two images, that we just described? How do we avoid going so fast that we completely come off the rails, or just bogging down in the inner workings and cogs of what is the corporate machine, the organizational machine? So our answer to that is the DevOps coach. So a little bit about more details. I mentioned the Forbes and McKinsey articles and such earlier. We can dig in a little bit there, and talk about the reasons for failure. Usually there's leadership and management concerns. They're resisting the change. There are always resource concerns. Often it's really just the inability to recognize that there's a transformational shift occurring. And those that do recognize that realize that the shift and the change that's occurring that's most important here is in the people. It's not in the processes, the tools, and the other things that we often think DevOps or Agile is, but it's in how people think, how we interact, how we collaborate and work on a daily basis. It's our behaviors, our culture, how we make decisions. It's a mindset. So the DevOps coach is actually a role designed to facilitate that change at that personal level. You think about the role of a coach in other scenarios and other places that we see coaches participate. They're not there, to dictate actions. They're sitting on the sidelines. They're not in the game, but they're working very hard to optimize performance individually and also as a group. And so together, you change this organizational mindset, the culture of the team. You adjust behavior and orient them towards shared goals, creating alignment and shared ownership, across the team. And you dig in and you start to understand, hey, these goals and the shared alignment, what does it mean to win the game? Well, we can start tying that to results, customer outcomes, and so on. Because ultimately, that's we can skip the adapt or die, because I think we all know, and have certainly seen in the last year or two, that the world around us can change rapidly. The circumstances can change, and we need to be flexible, agile, if you will, in our operations in order to adapt to that change. Next slide. Thanks, John. Okay, so so why DevOps coach? Why are we here on this call, and why have we taken the time to do this? And in many ways, at the individual level, there are tremendous benefits. I personally feel that professional development is one of those things that's, that we just don't invest enough into as organizations these days. And so we have to invest in ourselves, and this coach mindset is something that can be very, very transformational, and also unlock a lot of potential in your career going forward. It becomes, you take on a different role inside your team, which changes that chemistry and relation within the organization. And we also, want to tap into a growing community, particularly here in North America. We have, Canada, US, and Mexico, even on the call today. And so we have this growing community here in North America of like-minded, DevOps-oriented coaches that want to see this kind of change and to see the performance and efficiencies unlocked in organizations around the country.
Yeah.
So to get a peek inside what that really means, what a DevOps coach does, sort of a day in the life, I'm going to hand it back over to John.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so the question that comes to mind, Mike brought this whole thing up about culture, right? Most of our clients and the situations, those train wrecks or the high performance sports car being put in, stalled with the sheet is, people are understanding, they don't realize it's culture, right? They think, oh, we're doing DevOps because we have tools, or we're using this, this process, or we're thinking this way. Well, no, that's really when we brought in. And so, my question for you guys would be is, what is culture all about? Well, it actually boils down to a value and belief set. And so the key here is DASA has come up with the 6 core principles. And if you look at the companies that are succeeding in today's world, in this dynamic world, I'll use Amazon, for example. They are very customer crazy, right? Customer centric, very, very crazed at, and just very intense about, if you're not used to their culture, about striving to, do what's right for the customer. And then I'll go down even all the way through 6, so 1 through 6, they're very intense. And 6 is it's automate, automate, automate. So what we're seeing across our customers that are being the most successful, that they do line up to these core principles. So that's in the DevOps coach class. We talk about and get into what do these values and beliefs mean? How does this percolate or, can create that culture throughout the organization? How is you as a coach, what can you do to help facilitate, understand, facilitate, and get that, embedded into the DNA of the organization? Now, the other part that a key tool is what we call the DASA DevOps competence model. Now, this to me was, I'm going to use a term that's overused, game changer, but it really was. And that prior to this, several years ago when I ran into this and learned about this, the DevOps conversations were circular. They were all about conceptual. Oh, well, we need to put a CI/CD pipeline in, and we need to be dynamic, and we need to be iterative. Well, what does that mean? How does that work? Who's going to do that? How does it cost? You get to the decision makers, and it's all about the business decision makers. It's about cost. What's my bottom line? Well, what I liked about this model is that with this model, now you can put people, skills, the knowledge areas and skills areas here, and you can combine that and put that now to, okay, we need these people. You get those people, those roles in the room, and those skill sets, then they can start talking about what they need to be successful. Now, all of a sudden, those changes are concrete. They're solid. It's you got rid of those conceptual or circular conversations, and you're talking about real things to make things move forward, get stuff done. So that's really the foundational, because it's all, at the end of the day, for an organization, what makes it run? It's its people, right? It's all about the people. So this then it gives you a framework and a model for how you can then build everything, the people process tools on top of this.
Yeah, and I'll interject a little bit there just to kind of emphasize that. We saw, in the surveys, and we've talked to enough executive leaders ourselves, to know that there is, there are a couple of core reasons that they describe these failures. One is communication, within the organization, and so having a set of aligning principles and being able to create a framework that gets everyone speaking the same language, using the same terms, is tremendously valuable. But then beyond that, you always hear this notion of, all right, well, there wasn't enough resources, there wasn't budget allocated, there wasn't, management wasn't bought in. And often in our conversations with leadership, it's because it was difficult to measure. They said, all right, how do we know we're making progress? Because if I can't tell we're making progress, then I'm not going to fund the next phase. And this framework, the competence model, gives us a very objective way, to say, hey, this is what the team looks like. This is how we're growing. This is how we're objectively making progress towards this end goal. And it strips emotion and subjectivity out of it and gives you something concrete to lean on and communicate around up and down the hierarchy and the ladder inside the organization.
Yeah. And the cool part is, as that DevOps coach, you're the person being that integrator, you're being that change agent, you're the one that's making this happen. So to me, that's what's so exciting about being that DevOps coach. And then, so when you look at it now, beyond the team, we're talking about incremental change here throughout the organization, right? And this is where, again, now you take that competency model, layer it across different certifications or the different types of leaders that are needed across it. And it's sort of, they have this notion, or this, using Mike's term of notion, but they have this, approach called kata. So I don't know about any of you guys, if you're in martial arts. I mean, I'm a longtime practitioner. I like Wing Chun, but you have your katas. And so this is, to me, you take your current state, what's the direction or challenge, grasp the condition that you're in, what's that next thing that we have to go do? And then how do we get there, right? Try different moves, try different, experiment a little bit along the way. And so again, being that DevOps coach, that's what the course is about, is those tools and, the things that we're going to be, methods and stories that we share with each other, learning from each other in the classroom, through our experiences of each other. To me, again, this is where that, to me, that DevOps coach is sort of the center of it all. And again, goes back to the framework of how does this work and why are people being successful? It's because they have a process, they develop a process or that critical path, and then they believe that the process is going to work, it's going to carry them there, and they believe in their critical path. And that's a critical part here that, when we go through the course and, when we work with our clients, it's really fun to see the excitement on their face from they're seeing that train get tilted back, and all of a sudden, boom, the wheels fall back up on the track as that train lurches back onto the track. And that's a critical moment, pivotal moment, where now they see success. They can see there's light at the end of the tunnel, using the train analogy. They're going to get there. There's a way out of the hole they're dug into, and so they can move forward. So it's really good. So that, again, this is part of the fun that we have.
John, sorry. Yeah. If I go back, yes, I think not just me, the participants also wondering is that your roadmap with the miracle is around doesn't go 1 to 4.
Yeah, it's very, every situation is different. And it really, what it boils down to is when you're working with the teams in the reality of their situation, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, there's no set formula or prescription. Like you go to the doctor, okay, you're going to take these pills or, whatever it's going to be to go get fixed up, and that's going to heal you. In these situations, it's more or less, it's a winding path. And it's definitely counts on, that's why that word, conduct experiments to get there, number 4. And basically you're going to be experimenting all throughout. It's very iterative in all phases. And that's why, again, it goes to that culture and mindset approach.
No, but it is quite right, actually, because most of the time they try to give us the cookie cutters, the processes.
Yeah.
But as you know, each situation is different. Of course, you struggle, but that's the whole idea. That's I believe. As a participant of the DASA coach program, that's the whole idea.
Yeah. Or again, this is an important responsibility of the coach to understand. A lot of organizations leave out what's indicated as step 3. It's that intermediate incremental step. So consultants like to come in and say, hey, here's your future vision, a future vision declaration, or some other mechanism to say, hey, this is our end state. And then we can, a lot of consultants like to do, here's an assessment of your current state, and then give you a roadmap between. But it's very high level, and it doesn't really help you get to that next incremental milestone where you can say, okay, we've made progress. Let's, celebrate that, and then set the next incremental milestone. So 2, 3, and 4 in the kata are iterated over and over and over again. And that's what the small sort of circles represent, because we don't know how many times we're going to go through 2, 3, and 4 before we can get to that first future state declaration that we declared early on. And that's an important thing for everyone, especially the coach, to recognize.
Yeah, and what it's resonating, and the way you're describing it, Mike, is think of it that we're talking about culture change here, right? Going back to value and belief set. You want to get people have to buy in. This is going back to people, right? It's really about people buying in, believing in themselves, believing in the process, believing in the vision, and then doing things differently than what they have done before. So, and they're changing their values and beliefs on the fly as they're going through this. So the way they think and approach each one of these steps is different now, and they're learning how to be different as they're evolving in real time. And that to me is the cool factor, in that there's a lot of opportunity. One of my mentors told me, the bigger the chaos, the bigger the opportunity. And so once I looked through the lens of that, or once I looked through, things through that lens, it's like, bring it on and parachute me into the biggest mess you got, because it's going to be the funnest, most rewarding, and the most opportunity. And so that's sort of, again, was this whole mindset approach that we're talking about. Is it really is, like Christina was saying, it's a lot of opportunity here. You just have to have the right mindset and understand that it's situational. Things are going to happen and evolve.
Yeah. And I'm a big college basketball fan, so I think in terms of what it looks like to be a coach on the court or on the sidelines, and see the team on the court. In these iterations, you don't take over a team and say, okay, we're going to win the national championship next year. You come in and say, okay, let's look at, all right, how are we communicating? Maybe our number one goal, our future vision is, we want to get to the championships. But first, we've got to make sure that, okay, we communicate as a team. So when I'm going to pass the ball, someone knows, okay, they're going to pass the ball to me. And so we figure out how to work through that challenge and achieve that milestone. And then we say, okay, you know what? We're not going to win games until we learn how to make our free throws. And so let's focus on that. And so we navigate those twists and turns, because every player is different in terms of learning how to do that and getting from where they are to where they need to be. And then you start winning games, and then you start stringing wins together, and so it becomes very much an incremental process, repeating 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and that's why kata is such a great name. You're a martial artist, and so what do? Kata, you repeat it. It's over and over again, right? Until it becomes muscle memory. It becomes almost subconscious, right? Yeah.
There's a great quote. I got to interject this great quote by Bruce Lee. I don't fear the man that practiced 10,000 punches. I fear the man that practices one punch 10,000 times.
Yeah. It's good. Thank you.
Great. I can't top that. That's Bruce Lee. So,
So this is a great segue into the modes, right? And so we've been focused on coach and DevOps coach, and we went in depth there, and that was we really wanted to share and illuminate what we get into as those coaches. But think about it this way, though. It's not just and Mike, you did this analogy we did back when we did the first DevOps coach course in the US here, and we met Christine and group. Is we all have this visual image of what is a coach, right? And we always go to sports analogies. And if you think about it, though, what's really needed is that, you're going to take on many modes, modalities, or many roles. And right here, coaching versus consulting versus mentoring versus facilitation. Each situation as a coach, as you're shepherding or Sherpa, I like that analogy of a Sherpa. as you're being that person that's bringing everybody together and making this happen, you're going to have to take on these different roles. And you're going to have to know when is the right role, what's going to be helpful at this time in this particular situation. There's times where we're going to have to do tough love, right? You're going to have to hold people accountable, keep their feet to the fire. They're going to be unsure themselves if they can get through something. They don't believe that they can do it. They may not have belief in the process. So you're going to, you hold people accountable. Hey, you got to do this. Here's what we're doing. Come on. You said we're going to do this. Let's get going. And you sort of be that tough love. The other times, there's going to be times where something unforeseen may have come up on, or somebody just they've had enough personal change going on with the cultural aspects of it. And so they just need a shoulder, right, to lean on. So, give them a hug or, it's hard to do in today's world virtually, but, be that, use your 2 ears and 1 mouth approach appropriately so that they have somebody to listen to and just talk things out through. So there's going to be all these different variants of how you execute to get results or have people believe in themselves, evolve the culture variables because they're very soft and they're personalized because it is about people. And that to me is a critical part, is knowing how to switch between the different modes. Now, the question I would have for you is, if you're in a situation, and whatever situation it is, how do you know which mode you have to turn into, or which switch do I flip on, or which ball cap do I put on for this particular situation? And that gets into triggers, different feedback triggers. So what is it that I can trigger on? What are the triggers that are going to help me understand when I see this, when I experience this? And I'd actually like to go into when I feel this, going into that relationship in the center there. Does the person have my best interest at heart? There's a great quote that talks about a leadership quote that says, I think it goes something like, people don't remember maybe what you did, but it's how you made them feel. And I'm probably not getting that one correct, but there's a slide I'm picturing.
No, you are almost correct. How you make them feel. Yes.
Yeah.
They will remember, not what you said and so.
Okay. So say it again. So I can, what is it?
So how you make them feel.
Okay. Yeah. It's not what you said or did. It's not what you said or did. It's
how you make them feel.
Right. And that's what I like to, in my leadership classes or these coach classes, right? In the coach class, that's one slide, that's one tidbit we're going to, share in that class and that's really what we want to get to, is these feedback triggers.
Yes, I think on that also the switching to modes, the idea is not to, say, oh, I am a consultant now. Idea is, look at what they need and adjust your behavior. Yeah. Not to, tell them, oh, I am facilitating now, next 15 minutes. Right. But it is good approach. That's definitely I like. Oh, okay. We have a saying from Linda posted, Maya Angelou said, yeah, I learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Yeah. Thank you, Linda, finding out. We'll never
the
forget.
definitive source now.
Yes. We all remembered something.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. We didn't remember what they said, so that was the problem.
Yes.
the
puncture, the crescendo, which is we got to make them feel, right? It's all about making them feel.
Yeah.
One key thing about this slide here, you have, especially when it comes to, all right, why should I take the time to go through the coach training and why is that important to me? This notion of recognizing feedback triggers, because as managers and leaders of people, I think feedback becomes one of the most challenging things sometimes. How do we take feedback as an individual? That's just a personal thing that we, as part of our own growth. But then also, how do we give feedback? A big part of helping a team reach their, their optimal performance, inherently means you have to give them feedback. Not always positive, sometimes negative. And what science has shown us, so there are three triggers that can come out of that feedback. Essentially, it means there's three types of feedback. And so, in the coach training, we work through this and help you understand, okay, from the recipient's perspective, what kind of feedback is this? What kind of response is that going to trigger? Then how do I work with that? How do I make sure that I'm giving the appropriate feedback in the appropriate way, and then managing the response in a positive way as well? So you can make negative feedback inherently much more productive, constructive, and effective.
Yeah. And that's going to be, that leads into, a great segue into where we're at today. How would you, and the leading question here would be, okay, so negative feedback, but we're in a virtual world. How does all this work? How can I coach in that virtual world? And that's where, it's, you're looking at self-directed is the title of this slide, but it's when you're coaching in the virtual world, the teams are autonomous. You want autonomous, empowered, self-forming network teams. That's really the goal that organizations are trying to shift their hierarchy to, and have their org structure and their culture be able to support. So the decision-making is actually at what I like to refer to as the tip of the spear in the Scrum teams, where a customer is a part of that Scrum team, and you are gathering requirements, and grooming your backlog on every sprint cycle, doing your sprint rituals. And so as you're doing all that, that's where the decision-making is actually taking place. And then that being channeled back up and supported by the hierarchy, or what's left of the flattened hierarchy or org structure, getting rid of the hierarchy. So I'll say you call it flattened. So we get rid of the hierarchy, have a flattened org structure, and that flattened org structure is then supporting the decisions made at the tip of the spear. That's totally flipping today's world for most organizations upside down, inside out, and on its head from what they're currently doing today. And so as a DevOps coach, how do we do this in that virtual environment? And so this is where, this slide is loaded, but, with what to do and how to do it. But again, this is where we take the coach program, as we get behind the scenes into how to do that in today's world. I'm trying to think of, so I'm thinking of a client right now. And one example of this is really interesting, is that we have a client that's not just taking software developers, but taking several engineers of different disciplines, and they're creating rich Scrum rituals with those different engineers from different areas of the organization. And then you talk about the leadership that is managing, or traditional management in the hierarchy that was used to managing this. Well, what's there to manage? The teams are self-automated. So going through those, working with the managers and the Scrum Masters and the leadership, and then also the engineers to feel empowered and be able to make those decisions and run in that way. Again, all in this virtual world that we're in now. To me, that's where it's fun and exciting, and we're breaking new ground. And again, every organization is going to be different. So there's different situations. As a coach, then you're going to have to understand that, hey, I'm going to work through this customer, and these are the different tools I'm going to use to help them with their particular situation. So looking at the missing ingredient. So why are we saying that the missing ingredient is the coach? Well, it's the focal point. And this is what we've been sort of talking to, the narrative that we've been talking about throughout this webinar is, you have your leadership team. You have your Scrum teams with it, folks in the trenches doing the work. You have various departments of personnel. And then in the center there is the DevOps coaches. And they're providing that skill, what we go over in the DevOps coach, and the skills, the experience, the tools, the methods that we're providing, and what we talk about, and the role play that we do, and the exercises that we do. It's all about, you're that, hub in the center of the wheel. You're the integration, you're the change agent, or the integration, the glue that holds it all together. Those analogies, to me, that's what this is really about, being that DevOps coach. So
Just, John, sorry, go back. I think just what we miss, it might be me when I am redesigning this. Actually, the arrows goes both ways. Not just the DevOps coach gathers the information, guys.
Oh, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, when we wrote the slide, it was just about, hey,
yeah,
coach in the center. But from a communication, absolutely right.
Yes. We'll update the slide accordingly. Yes.
You know what? That's a good idea. We should make the coach a transparent, like ghost. And then everybody else, and then have the arrows pointing to everybody else, so everybody's equal.
Yes. And also, it's not just Scrum team, any teams, project teams, and so on. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for the example you were just giving earlier, we're seeing DevOps principles applied far outside of software development and product development now, because it is a more efficient way to work and very effective in this digital Zoom age that we're in, where we have the distributed teams regardless. So to be able to unify your teams around aligning principles, like our 6 DevOps principles, perhaps, that gives them, the information they need to be able to make decisions and be autonomous. And then, you apply some of those enabling characteristics, which was a couple slides back, and how you build and manage and grow that team. And that's how you build the cross-functional high-performing team, right?
Yeah. And you know what the validation of that is? Mike, when you came to me, we were in a conversation, this is many months back, we were in a conversation, and you said, hey, John, I've just been asked for an agile marketing plan.
Yep.
And the client was asking for that. And it's like, okay, this is great. Agile to marketing. How does this work, right?
It's highly effective, and especially you think about, the need for, that principle of customer feedback and having rapid iterations, wanting to learn quickly. Well, you want to run a campaign, see how your market responds to that, and then improve and run a more effective campaign, and do that as fast and as often as you can, rather than, set up, this is our advertising strategy for a year and just put the plan out there and run it. Right. These principles are universal.
Yeah. And that's
it is definitely. I just want to jump here. It's Mike, also you mentioned good point. I mean, even the name is the DevOps coach. We are, by the way, the coaching program teaches the coaching, regardless of, which department or, what you do. It could be the marketing, not just the software development. You see, all these skills that, the knowledge is applicable to any type of projects, any type of organizations, isn't it?
Exactly right. You'll see in the coach class, we don't focus on the technology or particular stack or platform. We are focused on the people side of coaching and transformation.
Yeah. Which is why we're successful, right? So that's one question we get a lot is, why are the DevOps, DASA DevOps coaches successful? When you look at the different curriculums out there and you look at the different trainings out there, most of them are focused on the stack, the technology, the process, the methodology. Few of them are focused on culture. And this is where DASA has sort of flipped it. They're taking a different approach. And they're stronger in Europe than in the US currently, but that's what we're doing. We're bringing awareness for DASA here. And what you're seeing is when we talk to, some of the folks that put together the DASA leadership course, they're actually authors of Agile standards, and they're helping in other organizations with their standards and curriculum. And what's happening is you're going to see the other standards and training groups out there, as they evolve their material, they're going to start including more of the culture, more of the leadership, more of that soft skill piece of it. And on the DASA side, we're going to see the same, but then we're also going to see, some technical. So what's happening is there's a convergence going on, which is where in the end, down the road, whatever that's months or years or whatever it is, people, we're all going to be looking at it from the same perspective, more equal to equally with technology and culture. But for right now, this is why the DevOps coaches, the DASA DevOps coaches are successful, is because they're looking at it from that lens of people, from the lens of culture change. And then the technology piece and how the stacks fit in and processes and methods, then that's the secondary piece. And so this circular of, discover, design, deliver, as we go through this, de-risk, it's that kata again, that kata type way of approaching it. That again is where that's that mindset that we're incorporating into you as a coach, that when you're in these situations, this is you're working in what I call a dynamic way of working and thinking in the different situations.
Yeah. And, to build on that, so often what we've seen and what you may have experienced is that the organization and the individuals within that organization that make up the culture today, they're working really hard. They're pushing and wanting and trying to enable and adopt this change and this transformation. But that reaction, that change, is missing something. That's why we developed the Catalyst program, and we tie very closely this notion of a coach as sort of a nucleus, as a center of that change inside an organization, because it's part of that catalyst. It is the thing that takes a change that wants to happen, but just can't quite happen fast enough. You're running, you feel like you're moving in molasses, and all of a sudden, helps catalyze that reaction and make that change easier and faster for everyone involved. And it becomes, a positive kind of feedback loop, where once that reaction starts going, it enables more and more reaction around it. And so the catalyst has that effect inside an organization. And that's part of why we build the program and why we're so passionate about the role of the coach inside any DevOps or Agile adoption.
Definitely good point, Mike, because everything takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Attending, even the coaching program, they teach you all the required skills and knowledge, but implementing, going through the transformation takes time. That's why, probably you saw as well, the client asked me, how long it will take. Actually,
that's what I'm
like, yeah.
No, you got a good point, because when I asked the client, they asked me how long will it take.
Yeah.
I come back to them and say, okay, how long does it take for true culture change? And they look at me and they're like, and I said 3 years. And at that time they fall on the floor, and because what's going through their mind is dollar signs. I'm gonna have to pay you for 3 years to get me through this. It's like, no, I'll pick you up. It's going to take 3 years for you to change your culture and have true culture change at all levels.
Yes, this is true. It's not that, us or the DevOps coach to stay there 3 years, but guide you. Actually, once they learn the continuous improvement, they can continue by themselves also. Yeah, but that's why actually coach becomes really catalyst. As Mike said.
Exactly. It's what's so great about an effective catalyst, because if you have an effective catalyst, once the reaction starts, it's not going to stop until it's complete. Exactly. And it's going to go on its own. It's going to create its own energy, which is what we want to do inside an organization. Make it feel like you're creating your own energy to drive this change through the organization. And that's what it feels like. So
exactly. Not to have the coach is telling you. Actually, and it's other aspect of it's just teaching you how to behave, and then let you behave. I remember, it's over a year ago, isn't it, that when we were talking about the catalyst?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue. It goes back to that reinforce or validates what we were saying at the start of this, which is we're here about getting you and your organization to see results. It's not us, it's you achieving results, your organization achieving the results. That to us is what it's all about. And to me, that's the key point here. It's teaching you how to fish, and that's what
exactly.
That's what we're here.
This is a good point. Thank you. I think it is time for us to ask our participants if they have any questions.
Yeah.
anything you guys can put on the chat, or you can ask easily, or while you are thinking about it, we just want to tell you a couple things. We have a surprise for you. And also we will talk about the upcoming coaching program, John and Mike leading. John, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
This is actually at Akuna. We created this Elite Agilist membership site. Because you are participant this webinar and you have 3 months free access to site. You will also find recordings on this site. It doesn't require anything to credit card or anything. That you will see the bunch of resources over there is available for you. Includes the Agile stuff and project management, DevOps content, small chunks of the teaching information, and we will share the slides with you. You will have access. If you follow this link, you will get your free access. I strongly recommend you join and look at it. Actually, there are fun stuff over there as well, and very soon you will have more stuff from Mike and John as well. Don't worry. More to come on this. Yeah, this is our surprise, but I think we have, if you can go to the next slide, John.
Yeah.
About the upcoming class.
Yeah, and I think, I know, Linda, you're raising your finger, so I think you got a question lined up for us.
Okay. Yes. This is interesting. It's not for me, right? Because I'm not the underlying coach for this, but I have I'm interested in knowing who it is for. I guess that's it. What types of people, what backgrounds are best? Should they already be in software or around it? I know you said that it doesn't have to be limited to that, but I think that it's probably going to be the majority of your business, and somebody who maybe exhibits more than just the ability to develop software would be your target, but you tell me.
Yes, that's a good question. So let me answer it by this way. There is no single profile that fits. I'm going to share with you, going back to just getting it, that it's a mindset, right? So in traditional organizations, you have project managers, a project management office. That is evolving and changing, and that's because they use methods like waterfall methods, or traditional project management, we call it. That's all evolving to be agile, and it's not just the software industry. It's like marketing, for example. That one client said, "I want to," right? So it's whatever organization is going from that way of doing waterfall or static or incremental ways of doing things in a serial fashion, that's going to be now going into working in a parallel fashion, adopting agile, being incremental, those types of changes in how they want to think and work. So that would be the primary candidate that would be interested in this coaching type class. In that and one more caveat to that would be is the person that wants to help be that change agent or lead the change inside the organization of how they're going to evolve their processes for how they work in whatever department, going from that static to dynamic, serial to parallel, traditional to transformational. However that looks for that organization, that's the type of folks that, we find that this is like these tools and methods will help them do that for themselves in the organization. Did that make sense?
It does. I still don't even though I have the background or studied organization development, I know that I would never be a good organization development consultant or coach because I'm a silver bullet person. But I help a lot of people with resumes who have agile on their resume, right? So I understand. But actually, I was just wondering, do you guys know about the product camp? Have you heard of product camp?
No.
Okay, Product Camp RTP. Google it, and they're looking for speakers. And it's the kind of thing, because product managers are having to coach people, or the people in that product management world are either coaching or coach. I saw something go out about a request for speakers. Have you heard of any of these something camps?
Yeah,
Like
well, I mean, I'd say
government
so.
camp or
Yeah, I think let's make sure. I think we've got your contact information, and John, let's
Okay.
connect after this and offline.
Okay.
It sounds like a great idea and something that we can certainly participate in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Yes, thanks, Linda. I just looked at it. It's interesting. Yes, but also for the coaching, I just want to add, Linda's one more thing. Overall, we are teaching the coaching skills. That's why the majority of information on the coaching program, it will help anyone. Doesn't need to be the DevOps or Agile. I am not too much, the DevOps person. But after, attending the program, I noticed that actually, I can do the project coaching as well, because the understanding the concept and skills required, it is key in this program. We are talking about the DASA DevOps coaching program. Is more skills associated.
So we've only got a couple more minutes left today.
Yes.
We've got a coach class coming up, don't we, John? When's the next one we have scheduled?
Next one is going to be June 8th. We're doing this after hours. So it goes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting June 8th, we're going to go from 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time US to 9 p.m. Eastern Time US. The Saturdays are going to go from, I believe it's 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
3 p.m. in the afternoon. And I think on the website, DevOpsCatalyst.com, site has all the details. It's very well designed. Thank you, Mike.
Well, thank you. So, all right, yeah. So DevOpsCatalyst.com for some details there. Starting the first is June 8th and it runs for how many weeks?
It runs
2
for
weeks.
2 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. Right, and that and it includes a certification if interested. If you want the DASA coach certification, so you can have that badge to carry on LinkedIn and on your resume, etc. Before we run out of time, I want to thank Christine and Akuna Consulting for hosting John and I today. So thank you so much for all your help putting this together.
No, it is a pleasure to have you guys. I mean, we are partners and we'll continue to be partners and doing good stuff together. This is happy. Any questions, guys? You can reach out to me or Mike or John. Please feel free to do so. But when we, put all this together, we will share the recordings with you and the slides. But meanwhile, reach out to us any question and also check our website because we have upcoming couple more webinars and also more information on the Elite Agilist. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jorge. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yes.
There he is.
Bye.
Yes. We have the team here. This is great. Okay, guys, I'll see you. I'm stopping the recording now.